The bell above the door chimed on a quiet afternoon in a small Vietnamese restaurant, letting in none other than Keanu Reeves. As the Mai family looked up to greet their new customer, they never could have imagined how this seemingly ordinary moment would unfold. The bell above the door chimed softly as Keanu Reeves stepped into Fomai, a small Vietnamese restaurant tucked away in a quiet corner of Los Angeles. The aroma of fresh herbs and simmering broth enveloped him, a stark contrast to the sterile hotel air he'd left behind. His eyes adjusted to the dim lighting, taking in the welcoming and intimate ambience of the interior and the photographs of Vietnam adorning the walls. As Keanu's eyes swept across the room, a few patrons did a double-take, recognition dawning on their faces. A couple at a nearby table waved hesitantly, while another diner fumbled for their phone. Keanu offered a polite smile and a small wave in return, but gently shook his head when the phone came up. Understanding, the fan nodded and lowered their device. Keanu made his way over, shook a few hands, and exchanged brief pleasantries before the diners returned to their meals, respecting his privacy. The quiet murmur of conversation resumed, punctuated by the click of utensils against bowls. A teenage girl, no more than 16, approached him with a shy smile. "Table for one, sir?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu nodded, following her to a corner table. As he sat down, he couldn't help but notice the girl's tired eyes and the way her shoulders slumped slightly. "I'm Lisa," she said, handing him a laminated menu. "Our specials are written on the board, but I can tell you about them if you'd like." Keanu glanced at the specials board, surprised to see only 3 items listed. He turned his attention to the menu, which boasted an impressive array of traditional Vietnamese dishes. His mouth watered at the thought of authentic pho and banh mi. "I'll start with the goi quan, and then I'd love to try the bun bo hui," Keanu said, looking up with a smile. Lisa's face fell slightly. "I'm sorry, sir. We only have 5 dishes available today. The pho, banh mi, con tam, and 2 of the specials on the board." Keanu's brow furrowed. It was unusual for a restaurant to have such a limited selection, especially when the menu promised so much more. He noticed Lisa fidgeting with her order pad, her eyes darting towards the kitchen. "That's all right," he said gently. "I'll have the pho then, and maybe you could recommend one of the specials?" As Lisa described the day's specials, a young boy, perhaps 14, emerged from the kitchen balancing a tray of drinks. He moved with the awkward care of someone new to the job, his brow furrowed in concentration. "That's my brother Tommy," Lisa explained, following Keanu's gaze. "He's helping out for a while." Keanu nodded, a sense of unease growing in his gut. Something about this place felt off, but not in a threatening way. Rather, it felt like he had stumbled into someone's private struggle. As he waited for his food, Keanu observed the restaurant more closely. The tables were clean, but the varnish was wearing thin. The plants in the corner looked a bit wilted, as if someone had forgotten to water them. And now that he listened carefully, he realized that the kitchen was quieter than it should be for a dinner service. When Lisa returned with his pho, Keanu decided to gently probe. "This place seems lovely. How long has it been in your family?" Lisa's eyes lit up for a moment. 20 years. My dad opened it when he came to America. He always said—" Her voice trailed off, and that flicker of joy vanished as quickly as it had appeared. "Is he in the kitchen?" Keanu asked, gesturing towards the back. Lisa's lower lip trembled slightly. "No, he's not here anymore. It's just Mom back there now." At that moment, Keanu realized he had stumbled into something far more significant than a simple meal. As he picked up his chopsticks, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to be here in this struggling family restaurant for a reason he didn't yet understand. As Keanu savored his pho, he noticed Tommy hovering nearby, seemingly fascinated by his presence. The boy's eyes kept darting between Keanu and the kitchen, where occasional clattering suggested a lone person at work. "Everything okay there?" Keanu asked, gesturing for Tommy to come closer. Tommy approached, wringing his hands in his apron. "Yes, sir. We used to watch your movies with Dad. He really loved Speed." The boy's use of past tense didn't escape Keanu's notice. "Used to?" Keanu prompted gently, pushing the bowl aside. Tommy glanced at Lisa, who was wiping down a nearby table with mechanical movements. "Dad got sick last year," he said quietly. "Really sick. The insurance, it wasn't enough." Lisa appeared at her brother's side, placing a protective hand on his shoulder. "Tommy, Mom said not to bother the customers with—" "It's okay." Keanu interrupted softly. "I'd like to know more if you're willing to share." The siblings exchanged glances before Lisa spoke. "We had to sell almost everything to pay the medical bills. Mom wanted to sell the restaurant too, but it was Dad's dream. He came here with nothing but his recipes and hope." Her voice cracked slightly. "Now we can't afford to stock all the ingredients, and Mom can't pay for help, so Tommy and I—" "We're supposed to be in school," Tommy added, his chin jutting out defiantly. "But somebody has to help Mom." Keanu's chest tightened as he looked around the restaurant with new eyes. The worn edges, the limited menu, the teenagers serving instead of studying, it all made painful sense now. He thought about his own losses, about grief and struggle, about dreams deferred. "Your mother," he said, nodding towards the kitchen. "She's alone back there?" Lisa nodded. "She works throughout the day. She thinks we don't hear her crying at night when she's doing the books." Tommy suddenly straightened up, his eyes widening. "Oh no, that's her signal." A small bell had rung from the kitchen. "More orders are ready." As the siblings hurried away, Keanu sat back, his meal forgotten. He thought about the contrast between this place and his hotel, where excess was the norm. Here was a family fighting to keep a dream alive, children sacrificing their education, a widow working herself to exhaustion, all to preserve something precious. He pulled out his phone, quickly searching for local Fomai had once been highly rated, with reviews praising its extensive menu and authentic flavors. The recent reviews were sparse, many mentioning the limited options but still commending the quality of what remained. Keanu knew he hadn't wandered in here by accident. Sometimes the universe had its own way of putting people where they needed to be. And right now, he needed to be here, in this restaurant, with this family. As he contemplated his next move, his mind drifted back to the events that had led him to this moment. The bustling film set faded into view, a stark contrast to the quiet struggle unfolding in the small restaurant. He had been in Los Angeles for 3 weeks now, filming his latest project. The days were long, the work demanding, but it was the evenings that had begun to wear on him. Each night, he'd return to his luxurious hotel suite, greeted by a menu that promised authentic local cuisine. Yet every dish that arrived felt like a pale imitation, stripped of the soul that made food truly special. One night, after picking at a particularly disappointing fusion dish that was neither here nor there, Keanu found himself staring out his hotel window at the vibrant city below. He thought about the countless family-run restaurants he discovered in his travels, each one a story unto itself. Those were the places where real people poured their hearts into every dish, where recipes were passed down through generations, where the food was a bridge between cultures. The contrast between those memories and his current experience gnawed at him. He realized he was hungry for more than just food. He was hungry for connection, for something real in this city of illusions. The next day, during a break in filming, Keanu overheard a crew member raving about a little Vietnamese place they discovered. "It's not much to look at," the grip had said. "But man, the pho there, it's a hug for your soul." That was all it took. As soon as filming wrapped for the day, Keanu slipped away from his usual entourage. He walked the streets of LA, letting